everyone, welcome to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your viewing and listening pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. Join me this week, we have Mr. Chris.
Hello everyone.
Hello indeed. No Mr. Rob this week because he's spending some quality time with his family, as we all should. We've got a great show lined up for you this week. We'll be discussing all the goodies Jeff Keighley brought us from Opening Out Live. Charles Martinet is hanging up his cap and moustache, Chris.
Wow, 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 wow.
I did not know you were going to do that. And all of our thoughts on the PlayStation Portal. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all of our great content here at GamerGuildTV, such as this show and our weekly live stream, and our watch-alongs, such as the Opening Night Live, which we did on Tuesday. And hopefully our internets don't completely sabotage our streams like they did on Thursday when we tried to play Age of Empires 4, the console edition, which was that Opening Night Live. Well, weekly live stream. You've got Starfield, baby, written, Chris.
I do, yeah. So I'm off work this coming week, and after the shit show that was Age of Empires, thanks to my internet provider, which I am trying to sort out, I've acquired some equipment, let's say, so hopefully that's going to improve. Yeah, I'm all in on Starfield, so I'm away on holiday, but I get back on the Thursday evening, I think late on the Thursday evening. So Friday, 1st of September, early access for Starfield. It's my birthday the next day. I'm going to have some birthday money. It feels weird because you get the game free in Game Pass. Like Rob said last week, it feels like you get the game for free. So when I looked at the upgrade to the kind of early access premium, it was like 29. I think it was like even on discount, like for £27. And I thought to myself, 27 quid, I can get it while I'm off work, early access, get in there before everyone else and get a good solid run at it. So I thought, hell yeah, why not? And let's stream it on the channel so everyone, you out there, wonderful audience, gets a cheeky first look and early access at this behemoth of a game as is touted.
You know what? If I had a week off like you have, I think I would have probably went for the early access as well. As like, what? If like it feels like the Starfield is a line for you.
Yeah, it's again, it's an interesting one for me because I'm not notoriously a Bethesda person. I've not played Skyrim. I've very, very briefly done an opening to a Fallout game. I don't really have any. I know of them. They're very well revered. I appreciate what they've brought to the industry, but I've never really been a Bethesda style person. We've said in the past, even like the art style sometimes of Bethesda games puts me off. First person isn't really my jibe, and I think what sold me as soon as Starfield was like, you can play this in third person. When we saw that trailer at the Game Awards, I think it might have been, or the Xbox Showcase, my brain just went ping, sold, and then the hype machines just built up from there, and then here we are. Several days out from launch, and I'm ready for it.
Technically, you can play other Bethesda games in third person, but you can't really. If you've ever seen like Skyrim in third person, it just looks crap. The animations just aren't there. The animations look really good in first person, but in third person, you just like a guy going, it looks pretty crap. Yeah, it's just kind of, so, it doesn't look natural, but. Yeah, me too. I'm going to have to wait a bit. Because of Rob, I've actually been playing Skyrim. And it is, I forgot, sometimes, when you know the game's amazing, but you forget how good it actually is till you jump back in. Like, I haven't really played in probably about at least 5 years or something, if not longer.
Yeah.
So, it's 100% got its claws into me.
Skyrim can be my retirement game.
Yeah.
Many, many years' time.
But, Chris, we've got an absolutely stacked show, so let's not dwell on this any longer. Would you like to introduce us to the
graciously gathered Gamer Guild Gazette, aka the news?
The news, and as always, our news is brought to you by our guild heroes. So thank you everyone who's a member on the YouTube channel at GamerGuildTV. This is my first time hosting the show, so like I know when we're trying to do the intro, I'm just like, it's GamerGuild, it's GamerGuild, it's GamerGuild. Kind of get that lodged in my brain.
Yeah, it only took you 3 takes to get the intro down instead of playing Helix. But we should point out as well, episode 2, huge shout out to everybody who tuned in for episode 1. We've had over 500 views and listens, which is fantastic. Obviously, merging 2 shows together, it's always a worry that you're going to lose half your audience, but you guys showed out in force, so massive shout out to you all. It makes it all worthwhile. It emphasises that we've made the right decision. The feedback, the comment sections last week were absolutely terrific. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, it's one of them. Like, again, I just want to double down on that thanks. You're always worried when you're making a big change to the channel. So the rebrand's obviously a big change. But then we're killing 2 shows that we've been doing for about a year. And we're just killing them both. And then creating a new show where we're going to combine everything. So the show's roughly structured the same. But if you're just an Xbox fan, is that why you're going to X-Pass? Now, we're basically taking X-Pass and talking to PS, slamming it together. But you guys, the reception has been great.
Yeah, it really has. And then the thing that kind of cements it for me making the right decision is I said I'm off work this week, but for this recording, we've already done the thumbnail for this episode. We're going to finish recording in probably about 1 hour and a half because it's probably going to be quite a long episode.
It's a chunky one.
And because it's your turn editing, recording this week, I'm free. Yeah. I have time to go spend with my daughter, my wife, my family, and my weekend is, I feel like it's my own again almost, rather than spending several hours.
As much as I enjoy doing this, it was kind of nice to go, okay, we finished recording, enjoyed that show. Oh, I'm free.
Did you go play games? Like, actually enjoy the things that we talk about every week?
Yes, I did.
Crazy.
Yeah, it just like free up a lot, and because we're not doing 2 recordings. So I usually allocate about 1 hour and a half for each recording. So it can sometimes take us almost 3 hours to get through X-Pass and talking the PS. And then the editing time for 2 shows and the thumbnails for 2 shows and the scheduling and all that sort of stuff. But it's been nice to condense it down a bit.
Yeah, and then we say condense it down, but it actually expands out because the shows are naturally probably going to be longer because we're no longer beholden to trying to wrap up. So like last week was like, 1 hour 20? This week, as you said, stacked show. Gamescom coming at the perfect time, and we also get some new PlayStation hardware and a bunch of news on Xbox Activision deal and just games, rumours, reviews. Like Armored Core just came out this week, and it's just, it's video games, guys. Video games are so cool.
Let's get into it, Chris. You mentioned Gamescom. Indeed. What was your overall impressions of opening out live?
So, it was an interesting one for Gamescom this year because Jeff has kind of doubled down on some of Game Fest. We know E3 is, let's face it, bit the bullet now. It's pretty much done and dusted. It was an odd one for Jeff because he only hosted like a big event like this, like a month ago?
Yeah, Summer Games Fest is his thing. Gamescom isn't. He's just hosts it.
Yeah, he gets invited along to kind of do an opening presentation, which is great because he's got friends there. He's involved with all his companies. But it almost took the shine off it a little bit this year, I felt. And he came out very early doors, rightly so, and tempered expectations. Plenty of tweets going out. Even I think before the show went live, he actually gave a rundown of pretty much what we saw in the show. We get updates on here. There will be Alan Wake. There will be this. Maybe with 1 or 2 things. But he very much played it down because I think he knew, probably looking at the slate of games, we weren't to expect any big announcements. And in a year that's been absolutely jam-packed with video games, like huge mega hits, I think he was very, very aware if he's not bringing the heat, he doesn't want people getting their hopes up. So I think he did a good job. 2-hour show, which tends to be the standard now. A couple of lulls in it, but you know what? My expectations were set, and it didn't disappoint me. I do think he struggled with the end. Again, I think even leading into the end, you and me suspected that when we got to Alan Wake and we were already at the 2-hour mark, that was going to be ending. As much as Alan Wake looks great, you shouldn't be ending a show on a trailer for a game we've already seen 3 times now.
Yeah, you kind of want the end to be a surprise.
You want to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Like, you want people's like recency bias to be on that final thing you showcase. There's a reason everyone loves the more recent things because it's like it's current. Yeah. Like Starfield is probably going to get a boon for Game of the Year because it's coming out 2 months prior to the Game Awards starting to ramp up.
Yeah, I think Alan Wake 2 is a perfect penultimate game to show. You just go, right, he's a big game then. Oh, and we've got one more thing. It's that one more thing. We want the one more thing.
Yeah, you do. You want that tease for something fresh and new. And I think all of the partners he's got, it's a shame he couldn't get just something. Well, something to show him now.
To be fair, I am looking at the list of stuff that was there, and I don't think there is a one more thing game in there.
No.
Perhaps Modern Warfare 3 could have been it, because that was a gameplay footage.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a bit of a hype moment, but that was kind of just in the mix set fairly early on. We knew it'd been announced, but we hadn't seen the footage, but it's also a remake. But
And it does make you wonder, though, because of Summer Game Fest, how many things were focused on his event, which naturally you're going to keep the best things for yourself.
Yeah.
But, yeah, could EA not spare anything? EA have been very quiet this summer. Like, aside from their FC24 marketing, they've not, and obviously Jedi Survivor, they've been quite quiet. Ubisoft, no one could have flung them a bone and said, here you go, Jeff, here's a big announcement for a title. But
I think
maybe that's just the world we live in.
I think since with COVID, what a lot of them want to do is they realise they can do it themselves relatively cost effectively. Mm-hmm. So, and if you do a Ubisoft Forward, for example, everyone's watching that for Ubisoft games, and you're probably getting almost the same level of like audience watching it, and it's only dedicated to your games, so you're not sharing the stage effectively. Which, as a fan, I love to see them share the stage, but from a business point of view, I can totally see going, no, we're just going to hold on to our stuff and do our thing. It's why I don't think you see Sony at this stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's generally friends with Jeff, right? We had The Last of Us at the Game Awards, so... But then again, look at the turmoil they're going through with The Last of Us factions and stuff, and we don't really know what's going on there, but there is news later on to do with it. But in terms of the show itself, do you want to give us a rundown of kind of what was announced?
What I'll do is we'll go through the list of everything that was announced, and then we'll pick a few to talk about because we don't have time to go through every single one of them. So here we go. Starfield, Little Nightmares 3, Black Myth Wukong, Killing Floor 3, Age of Empires 4 Anniversary Edition on console and cloud, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, which was a mobile game as well as a TV show.
Pointless.
Otherwise, if it wasn't for the mobile game, it wouldn't be in this list. Crimson Desert, Payday 3, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Tekken 8, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Nightingale, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Immortals of Avium, Zenless Zone Zero, Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, Lords of the Fallen, Sonic Superstars, Sonic Frontiers The Final Horizon DLC, The First Descendant, Under the Waves, Fort Solace, Expeditions, a Mudrunner game, The Crew Motorfest, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, Stormgate, Last Epoch, Marvel Snap, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Still think it's one of the best ever names. Yeah. Warhaven. It's so nerdy. Fires of Rubicon. Warhaven, Mortal Kombat 1, Ara History Untold, Diablo 4, Dustborn, Thank Goodness You're Here, and Alan Wake 2.
You're welcome. I'm here for you to read out that list.
There's content there. There's a lot of content.
Oh, undoubtedly.
And to be honest, I don't think there's a bad game in that list. There's games that I look at and go, not for me. The biggest takeaway I had was most of this is 2023 releases. We're already in August. Starfield's about to drop. We know Alan Wake. We know Call of Duty. Then there's stuff like Spider-Man's coming. There's so much stuff in the second half of the year when I'm watching something like Immortals of Avium. It's like, this looks an absolutely solid game that I'm not interested in because there's other games I've literally got sat on my desk which I haven't played yet.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. It's an exhaustive list, and there's nothing in there that's necessarily bad. There was some filler in there for certain, but I think you're completely right. Yeah, the dating of everything. So opening the show with Starfield, that's out in a week.
Yeah,
which basically means everything he shows is just an advert. It's not a trailer. It's not a promotion. It's an advert for buy this game next week.
At this point, you know whether you're in or not with Starfield.
Yeah, you ended with Alan Wake, which comes out 2 months' time, just short of 2 months' time.
I think you already know if you're in Alan Wake or not. If you're a fan of like Resident Evil survival horror, you're probably in an Alan Wake. If you're not, it's probably not for you.
Absolutely. Armored Core out this week. Yep. Good reviews, but again, out this week. Crew Motorfest out this year. Cyberpunk comes out next month. Fort Solace Stealth Drop. It actually launched right there and then at the Game Awards at Gamescom. Sonic out next week. Lords of the Fallen, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed Mirage. All this stuff, bar maybe Little Nightmares 3, which was a great reveal announcement. I'm over the moon that we've getting Little Nightmares 3, and Black Myth. As you said, most things are probably this year. By the end, like by December, all these will be out. So it kind of does almost take away a little bit from the excitement and the hype, because not it's weird. It's in a weird way because like if we're getting it soon, then that should be the hype. There should be like, oh, awesome, we're seeing it, and I can play it so soon. But I think as gamers, we always look to the distant horizon, don't we, and go like, yeah, but what am I playing next year? What can I stack it? All these games I can stack in my back catalogue and never actually get to them. But what am I playing next year, Jeff?
I think I said during the stream where I'm not really interested in anything else that's coming this year because I already know what this year is for me in games. It's Final Fantasy 16, it's Starfield, it's Spider-Man, it's Jedi Survivor. That's enough to see me out the air, to be honest.
Yeah, I've got mine locked in. I went on Amazon pre-order binge 2 nights ago, and I thought, actually, you know what? I don't know what I've locked in for. So I pre-ordered Assassin's Creed Mirage, pre-ordered FC24, formerly known as FIFA, pre-ordered Spider-Man.
FIFA's going to be in
2. Got that locked in. I thought, they're my 3 games. And then I started looking at the release calendar, and I thought, there's maybe 1 or 2 more that I want in between it, but they're all so jam-packed together. Financially, I have to make a choice of what I would actually want to play, which I'm so glad, again, Starfield is practically free. And so will Forza Motorsport as well. But in terms of the game, Age of Empires, again, we tried to stream it the other day. That was a stealth drop, console and cloud. Game's great. It's just my internet didn't run it because it was shitting the bed that night. Fort Solace stealth dropped. That's Troy Baker and Arthur Clarke of Red Dead Redemption fame. You'll recognise his voice immediately. Mixed reviews on that one, unfortunately. It's only about a £25 title.
Yeah, I thought it looked really cool, but then the reviews have kind of just said it's a bit dull.
Yeah, middle of the road. Graphically, though, pushing Unreal Engine and some cracking voice talent, looks very Dead Spacey, and apparently it's not too long. You could probably complete it in an evening. So I think with the price and the production value, even if the story's okay. This is someone who just went back to try Gollum last night again, Richie, and I had to uninstall it. I couldn't even there was like a puzzle that I had to climb across a ledge and sneak past an orc, and I couldn't get out of its line of sight, and he kept grabbing me, and I had to restart. I restarted the checkpoint 10 times, went, you know what, screw you, uninstall, I'm done. Cast it back into the fires from whence it came. Done. Goodbye, Gollum.
Yeah, I imagine Gollum was probably even worse for you when you're not on the streaming, because when there's a stream, you hang out with me, you hang out with our audience, you're having a laugh, you can have a bit of fun with how bad it is, how glitchy it is, all that sort of stuff.
Sharing each other's
But when
pain.
you just sat there just playing, you're like,
it very quickly just felt like I'm wasting my time. I was like, I can literally go do anything else. I can go wash the dishes and it will be more fun.
I felt like I was wasting my time while I was watching you stream it.
Wow.
Although I was playing Final Fantasy at the same time, so.
In terms of the other games then, Richie, as I said, I want to go back to Little Nightmares 3. We've got a full gameplay preview, review, playthrough, whatever you want to call it, up on the channel of 1 and 2, good from our good old Stadia days. And this is an interesting one because it was Tarsier Studios who made it in tandem with Bandai Namco for the original 2, and then for Little Nightmares 2, for the Enhanced Edition, the PS5, and the Xbox Series version, they Bandai Namco own the IP. So Tarsier, the studio who made it, do not own it. It's Bandai Namco. They publish and own the IP. They got Supermassive, who make Ready at Dawn and the what's it called? The anthology, the Dark Pictures anthology. Yeah. They make that game. They reached out to them and then got them to make the advanced version of Little Nightmares 2. They are now making Little Nightmares 3. So it's a brand new studio having the first crack at the whip with, quite frankly, I think it's a terrific IP. It's very much got that Tim Burton-esque animation, like horror elements. Think James of the Giant Peach, but it's crossbred with kind of like Inside and Limbo with that kind of 2D/3D gameplay, puzzle-solving mechanics. Tells a creepy, eerie little story. Although they both have, both games. They're always at a good price point as well. They're never too long. Like I think I finished 2 in 6 hours, 20 minutes. And they're just that, you know, when you want just like a little hit of horror, but you don't want to be scared shitless. Little Nightmares fills that gap for me. It's more eerie horror than it is jump scare horror. And it's a terrific little game. So yeah, Little Nightmares 3, can't wait for it. As a precaution for you, Richie, maybe not add the trailer into the show, because Bandai Namco are absolute a-holes when it comes to copyright.
So unfortunately I won't be putting the trailer in. So if you want to go, we do recommend you go watch the trailer yourself. But honestly, they just literally copyright claim everything.
But they don't copyright the whole playthrough. There's a 6-hour full playthrough of the second game, the entire game from start to finish. That's fine, but you show a trailer and the kick-off.
So unfortunately, that won't be in there. And since we've just spent a lot of money on like assets for the rebrand. Oh, I never mentioned the merch store. We have a merch store.
We do.
Links,
and I think
links everywhere you'd expect them to be.
And they probably have at the time of listening. If you're a Helix, damn it.
Helix.
If you're a guild hero, if you're a guild hero, there's 15% off for probably 2 more days.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this on Saturday evening, Sunday morning, whenever it is, t-shirts, mugs, there's a couple more things up on there, mouse mats and stuff. Look really, really good. But if you want 15% off, got to be quick.
Yeah. The next game I want to bring to the table, because I think this is a game we've talked about before, but not in any real depth, is Black Myth Wukong. So this is from Chinese developer and publisher Game Science. It's due out next year. And the interesting thing I want to talk about, Chris, is the Steam tags. So these are user-defined tags. And this is at the moment, there's mythology. Makes sense. It's based on Journey to the West, Chinese folklore. Action RPG, 3D. All seem perfectly good. And dating sim.
That's got to be an accident.
It's either an accident or someone's trolling. I just saw it and was like,
yeah,
what?
this monkey man ain't going out there dating. The trailer starts with a headless man playing a banjo.
Yeah. Oh, what? It's not a banjo. What? Is it a shamisen or
a
something?
Lute?
No, you're thinking Western instruments. It's an Eastern instrument.
Same
it's
thing,
in the same similar vibe, but yeah.
And he's got no head.
Well, Black Myth Wukong is an action RPG rooted in Chinese mythology. You set out as the destined one to venture into the challenges and marvels ahead to uncover the obscured truth beneath the veil of a glorious legend from the past. I think this game looks amazing. My only worry is it looks Soulsborne-y.
Yeah, so my hope for this, and I'll be all over it, is if the boss fights look cool, the art style, the animation looks absolutely beautiful. If this turns out to be more like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Kena Bridge of Spirits style fighting, where the boss fights are tough, but they're not impossible. And what we saw in the trailer, the fights kind of looked very Soulsborne fights, but it didn't seem fast or brutal enough to kill the protagonist like instantly. Like there was not. I don't know if they're just not showcasing that. But again, I'm one of these where a lot of our audience are the same. We just don't have the time, the patience, the dexterity, or the skill to just beat these games. And I feel like I'm missing out on such a large part. Like with Elden Ring, I'm missing out because I can't cope with that type of gameplay. Yeah, but I want to. I just can't.
Going back to
I ain't
Elden
getting
Ring,
any younger.
I did take down the first boss in Elden Ring, and I get it. When you overcome that challenge, it's so rewarding. But then I remember the literal hours before that of just stress that I just didn't enjoy. I didn't really enjoy the process of it. I enjoyed the reward, but not the process. And that's why I'm not really into Soulsborne games. And it took me a while to kind of figure it out. It's like, it's because I don't enjoy I enjoy the reward of defeating the boss, overcoming the challenge, but not enough to offset how stressed and uncomfortable I feel through it. And it's just not how I want to enjoy my pastime.
I get that. Remember, you're talking to someone who did defeat Zhang Liang in Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
Yeah, so in two very recent Soulsborne games, we both took down a boss each.
And then gave up because the rest of the game was too hard.
Yeah, I didn't even... Well, I give up after that one boss because I'd realised at that point that Elden Ring wasn't for me. I'd give it a fair shot. I'd put the effort in to take down a boss, go, yep, I've done it.
But move on.
Yeah, but move on. I did play the Lies of MP demo as well. That was good. I enjoyed that. I didn't find the boss too brutal in that.
Just give us difficulty spikes.
Yeah, that's it.
Like I would be all over Elden Ring if I could just drop it down to filthy casual mode, baby mode, and I'll just do it that way. Like the game still exists in exactly the same way. Just let me kill him in 70 less hits. I'll take it.
That'd be perfect for me. All I'd want is for like a game like Elden Ring or Warlong or any other Soulsborne games. It's just a difficulty thing. So your standard difficulty is how it is now, what you expect, and then just have a lower level of difficulty where a boss's attacks do like less damage, they have a slightly lower health bar, so for more casual players. But they're just seemingly reluctant to do that. But
do it.
Anyway, is there any other games that you want to talk about while we're here?
Yes, we did. We did talk about it on the actual stream, but Crimson Desert, which I didn't really know anything of heading into it. It's an upcoming RPG from Pearl Abyss, and they've got I forgot what the name of the usual game is, but they've got like an MMO RPG, I want to say, that's already currently going, and this is the kind of spiritual successor sequel to it. And the early on it was, I think, slated as an MMO again, and then they kind of rebranded after the first year in development or the second year in development, and then made it more of just an RPG. So it's now titled as an action RPG. And when we saw this trailer, every kind of like 30 seconds, it showed you something new that was like, I'm okay, you've got my attention. And then it was like, that looks cool, that looks cooler, like pole vaulting over the wooden palisades at a barracks. He was doing that. Jumped off a cliff and turned into some kind of like Death Eater made of birds. He was saving sheep from problems. Graphics it looked like The Witcher, with some different elements to it and something like fresh. I don't know if that's just like what I'm missing right now. Very big open world, lots of interaction, but the color palette, maybe I think I might have said on Tuesday night when we watched it live, is just, it seemed more vibrant. Like it looked like The Witcher, but with like a nice big boost in color, so it didn't look as like grim and dirty and evil. It looks like fun to explore. And I always say like the Far Cry games that are the best are the nice sunny environments.
Yeah, it looks like an environment that you'd like to be in.
Yeah, I want to go on my summer holidays to this place.
It's desert levels I don't like. It's just
vast emptiness.
Just beige. It's just a lot
balloon
of beige.
rides. There's balloon rides. There's portals to other dimensions. It's like every 30 seconds this game was like, you want some sci-fi? Here you go then, fight these mecha crabs. And you're like, hang on a minute, I was in medieval fantasy 5 seconds ago, why is there mecha crabs? Climbing a tree, going on balloon rides, it just seems to have everything. And if they can pull it off.
Some magic-y stuff. It's like when he kind of jumps off a cliff and turns into like a flock of crows and stuff, and that's like, oh, that's cool.
Looks like the Zelda puzzles where you solve with like gravity wells. I don't know, I really don't know what it is. Like, I'm very intrigued though. It's
Black Desert, that Pearl Abyss, famous
Black
for
Desert. I knew it was
for the
something
MMO. It looks like what they've done is they've made a list of some of their favorite games of all time. Things like Breath of the Wild's obviously been in there, Witcher 3's been in there. There's probably been some Soulsborne games in there, some Ubisoft stuff in there, and then right, let's take all the best features of these and just make a game, and it looks amazing.
He's skydiving like Link in one scene. He's pulling the roof off a hut in the other. He's using archery. Just anything you can imagine. It looks like it's in this game. So
yeah.
I just hope it's not a broken mess kind of thing, because when the games scale up like this, there is always that risk of it just becomes too much for the devs.
But the thing is, though, this was started its life as an MMO, so basically a sequel to Black Desert, and they've got rid of the MMO bit, so they've already scaled it back, and their history of handling an MMO means they're used to handling massive worlds in detail with lots of players in there. So you're shrinking that down to one player. I think the stock is good for this. I would be expecting them to deliver. So this theoretically is a more simplified version of what they're used to making. Yeah.
Cool name as well, Crimson Desert.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is they need to maybe do something with the logo branding marketing, because it does look like a generic.
It's a generic guy.
Like fantasy, yeah, like the gold font and such. Like I want it to stand out a bit more, so it does rise up from the crowd. If you think this last couple of weeks, we've got Remnant 2, Lords of the Fallen, and I'm sure there's a third one, and they all visually, to me, from an optics standpoint, I look at them and go,
they bleed into one in your mind.
Yeah, they all blur into one, and like they need to stand out. So hopefully. Other than that, though, everything else didn't really tickle my pickle.
I want to mention Call of Duty, actually, because I think we both enjoyed the Call of Duty trailer. So it was an actual gameplay trailer, and it's not just a straight one-for-one remake of Modern Warfare 3. They're doing some quite interesting stuff where you can take a more tactical approach. It's not just effectively Call of Duty, the single-player stuff, was always just kind of on rails. You just go from point A to point B, and you kind of go through these cycles of, he's an action area, he's a bit of cutscene, he's an action area, he's a bit cutscene. But they seemed like they showed a trailer where it looked like like going into like a base. Like I remembered like a gulag
Fort
level.
Boyard.
Fort Boyard.
Channel 5. That's what it was.
And there's a couple you could like there was stealthing in, so and there was like quite tactical in the approach. It seems a bit more involved. So it's definitely one I'm keeping an eye on. I have no interest in the multiplayer at all, but the single player did turn my head a little bit.
Yeah, and everyone was amazed because the night vision wasn't green, it was blue.
It was.
Did you see the internet flipping out because everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's actually like clear, detailed night vision, not just a bright green blur."
It's not. Yeah, sometimes in games you put night vision on, everything just goes green and blurry. It's like, but now I can't see anything anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't actually aid you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Call of Duty looks good. It was on my radar. I think now I've revised my pre-order list. As I said, I've made the probably smart decision to just hold off on Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I keep getting the niggle to go back to Cyberpunk for Phantom Liberty because again, that's another one that's like huge, but it's coming in like back end of September. I'll probably be knee deep in Starfield still, and then
do you even
everything
have it?
else.
Cyberpunk.
No, I don't. I don't even own it. So I actually looked for the PS5 version, and there's like a digital PS5 version, but not physical. And I kind of want the physical version of Cyberpunk, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think I might have had a passing interest in Phantom Liberty because it does look good. If I had still had Cyberpunk, but because of Stadia, I don't.
Damn you, Google. But other than that, yeah, a couple of stuff in there. Big anime block, we said that. No sports games showing off. It's obviously not the audience for it. Yeah. But yeah, overall, good show from Jeff. Gamescom has gone swimmingly well. I know a lot of our news in this week's show is actually coming out from this. In hindsight, though, kind of crazy that PlayStation didn't throw the Portal announcement into the show. That could have been something mid-show to kind of pick up a bit and say something from PlayStation. Remember last year we got the PlayStation Edge controller announced at Gamescom Opening Night Live. It would have been seemingly okay for them to just go, because it was the next day they announced it, like the day after Gamescom Opening Night Live. So just throw in an advert, reveal PlayStation Portal, gives a few updates on what it'll be about and how it plays, and then have it on the show floor for people to test, because influencers have them now. So they're out there in the wild. So the NDAs and stuff have been lifted. Have
influencers actually got them, or is just Sony have done? I know Sony have done an in-house event where they brought.
That's what I meant. Hands-on got them. Yeah.
But there has been people hands-on. Obviously, we're not in that list yet. Keep supporting the channel. This is why you need to like and subscribe. When you get the audience up, then we can get hands-on and give you our actual first impressions for the stuff.
Indeed.
But Project Q, as it was formerly called, is now the PlayStation Portal or the PSP. We have a sequel to the PSP.
You know what? You just said we didn't get hands-on with one. I actually have got hands-on with a PSP right here.
Yeah, there you go.
All your listeners, it's an old PSP.
We have a price for it. It's £199 or $199, or I can't remember what it was in euros, but I think it was slightly
$199. Sorry,
it was like $219, was it? I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher. But
yeah.
Either way, I'll find out. It's $219.
$219. Yeah. So we know a bit of detail about what this device is. So it is a remote play device that has no it has Wi-Fi. It doesn't have mobile data. It has a 3.5mm audio jack. It doesn't have Bluetooth. And that goes into actually kind of the next story, which is the new PlayStation Elite and Pulse Explore headphones and earbuds, that they're bringing out their own proprietary PlayStation Link wireless audio technology. And seemingly at the moment, as best we can tell, this is a PlayStation 5 only device. So it hasn't been confirmed. I haven't seen it confirmed either way, but I've not seen PS4 mentioned anywhere. So at the moment, I would assume that this only connects via remote play to your PS5.
I would imagine so as well. And remember, your PS4 games can be played on your PS5, so I think it's easy for them from a R&D standpoint to just commit to one console, connect it to one console. Remember, things for like security and that, it makes sense if you can just design it around one thing.
But it's remote play remote play is on PS4 as well, so this is why I'm a bit confused about if that is the decision. Why? Because remote play is already on the PS4. Anyway,
it's probably the latency thing. It's a brand new product. They want it on their best tech, and the PS4 just probably with its Wi-Fi card just isn't up to scratch with what they want in testing.
Remote play works better from the PS5 to PS4 than when you're playing on the PS4, playing PS5 games. There's a noticeable difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get into it, it's an interesting thing because before we went live, to give our audience the kind of the clear route of it, this isn't for you.
No.
This is for me. I'm sold on this. You're not. So then let's get into our reasoning why, I think. Let's tell the audience why this isn't for you.
Yeah, before my rant, I'm just going to put out there, I can see a use case in this.
Okay.
I don't think that use case, I think that use case is very niche and not worth the money. And there's a few things that I actually don't like about it. Like the fact that it doesn't have Bluetooth support. I know it's got the 3.5mm audio jack, but I would say most people would agree that the standard for audio now is Bluetooth wireless. It's not the best solution, but it is the standard. So if you want to use any sort of wireless headphones on this, you have to buy PlayStation's proprietary stuff. And that
is this the start of your rant?
Or this is it. Yeah, I'm straight into the rant.
This is the start of it. I was going to say, you went just before I get into it, and then just went into the rant thing anyway.
Before I get into it is, I can see a use case for the device.
All right, okay,
so it's not. I'm not saying this is a completely useless device, but I don't like that you have to use a proprietary wireless audio solution. I think this should have Bluetooth support, and I think it is quite anti-consumer to not. And my take on it is, I might be wrong, it feels like they're just trying to force you into their ecosystem more. It feels a very Apple move, and I don't like Apple for them same reasons. And I am a Sony fanboy, and I think they're fucking up with this. Like,
okay,
it actually makes me less inclined to buy PlayStation proprietary stuff, because I don't want it. Okay. This is like the sort of behavior, like, from a company I'm looking at going, no, not about that at all.
Yeah.
And the fact that the other thing I don't like is it is remote play only. Which is, I think this is what massively limits its scope of usefulness.
Because, I agree on this one.
For example, I used to think of you as an example because I know you often work away, so you spend time in hotels. So this would be an ideal device if this, even if it was just remote play only. Well, actually, if this could use cloud gaming fully, this would be an ideal device because you could just play games on the cloud while you're away from home. This is your work from home device. But because it's remote play only, if you're using this device, it means your PS5 is locked down in your living room, which means your wife can't use it.
Yeah. Not that she would.
But if she might use it to stream something like Netflix or Amazon. She plays Uncharted.
It's limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's limiting.
I'm using you as an example because it's easy to justify. But someone else's wife might.
Our children, like, again, the kids might want to go on it, and dad's away, so you can't touch it while he's on it and away.
I use remote play. I think remote play is a very useful tool. I just don't think I need a device dedicated to remote play. If this was remote play to get your PS5 games in there, and then had PS Plus, so you get all your PS4, PS3, etc. games in there, for $199.99, I'm sold.
Right.
There's just a few of these compromises I'm looking at. It. Every single one of these sort of devices I'm looking at and goes, it doesn't quite fill what I need. None of them have nailed it. And again, I haven't even mentioned the fact that it doesn't have 4 or 5G, which I think for a portable device absolutely should.
Yeah. There's a lot of perfectly valid points there. I think to be clear with the audience as well, before we get onto my use case of it and why I'm totally sold on this device, is there's been a couple of things back and forth about why it's going to be bad and why it's kind of a lot of the same stuff that came with cloud gaming. A lot of the criticisms of people just saying it's not going to work, Wi-Fi infrastructure is not good. To be clear, if you're playing this in your home, which is very much what Sony intend this device to be used as a supplement to your console for when you don't have access to the big TV, because they've already confirmed at the influencer sessions they're not doing any kind of cases or anything for it yet. They expect this device to stay in the home, not be carried around and taken out the house. Obviously that could change later on. They'll probably discuss it with third-party manufacturers and stuff. Your internet, your upload, your download, does not matter if you're playing this device, if you're playing a single-player game. So if I'm playing God of War, it's running on my PS5, and I'm in my home, it's all based on my internal Wi-Fi infrastructure. It means sweet FA if I've got fantastic download or upload or shit download. Doesn't matter. As long as my internal network is fine, my PlayStation Portable is connected directly to my PS5 via my internal network. So if your internet in the house is set up well, you've got a router, you've got maybe a mesh network, you're close to your router, you're probably going to be perfectly fine.
As long as you're on the same internal network. Download and upload speeds still come into play when you go onto a different network.
Online.
On Wi-Fi to connect back. But if you're in your own home, how many people have multiple internet systems in their own home? Like if you are, check your bills. You might want to save some money there.
100%. But then obviously there is the element that comes into it. If I'm playing an online game, that 100% will be impacted by it. But as big fans of cloud gaming, Richie, we know it's very few and far between. If my PS5 is playing Call of Duty, the latency to get that then mirrored onto my PlayStation Portal, I was going to say portable then, portable, it's going to be minimal, and it works. So again, don't maybe read too much into thinking, oh, I've got bad Wi-Fi, my download speeds are rubbish. That is not going to stop you from playing Spider-Man on this thing. That's not going to stop you from playing The Last of Us, Uncharted, Horizon, all the classic first-party games that PlayStation plant their flag in the ground on. You'll be fine. So just want to clarify that because I've seen a lot of stuff going around online. As you said, remote play, we've both used it. I use it quite a lot with my Backbone and my mobile phone right now.
I use it less now my PS5's up here, but I used to use it a lot when I had the consoles the other way around. But
as far as a use case basis goes, the reason I love using my Backbone so much is because it gives me that portability. But at the same time, the reason I hate using my Backbone so much is because my phone notifications come through all the time. I use the device for something else, and I don't want to be halfway through a gaming session and I have to minimize it or back out, and then it closes the session down or it gets in the way. I want to just have my phone on the side so I can pick up, reply to a text, put it back down, and then go back to gaming. Just pick up a separate device. That's one of my reasonings.
I also don't like the form factor of a phone. I think they're too slim. You don't get enough vertical height, and I always find for some games it's fine, but if any more like a 2D platformer side scroller, I think I'm fine with it. But the reason why I've never really fell in love with my Kishi and therefore never bought a Backbone was largely because I'm looking at the screen. It's just not a comfortable size for me for this sort of gaming. This is a dedicated screen for this purpose.
8 inches as well.
Yeah, it's big enough. The form factor's good. You've got a proper DualSense grip. I think the form factor is fantastic.
Yeah, I think DualSense is won its plaudits already. Yeah. So that's a great win already. Like I said, 8-inch, the Switch OLED 7, and the original Switch is 6.2. So you're getting a bit more real estate there. So something condensed down. I think they've said it plays at 1080p, which on the size of screen, you're not going to really notice the difference. It's going to look gorgeous anyway.
I play pretty much everything at 1080p anyway, so that wouldn't be an issue to me. And plus, this is a secondary device. That is...
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Price-wise, $199 I think is probably about fair for all things involved. It was never going to be really that much less. I think if a DualSense costs £60 to £70, if you go out and buy an Android tablet that's 8-inch, that's going to set you back about 100. So there's 100, add the 60, 70, you're pushing 170, then all the proprietary stuff as well. I think that gives a retail price of a fair cost of $199.
Well, I think the proprietary stuff personally should drop the price, but...
in terms of you getting like unique PlayStation stuff built in that you can't access anywhere else.
Yeah,
other than your PS5, but then you need £500 for that front.
I think the price is absolutely fine if you're looking at this and going, "This solves the problem I have." Mm-hmm. But as I mentioned,
Backbone's $99.
Yeah.
So would you rather pay the extra bit and get the screen? As well,
if I was someone who used a Backbone or Kishi all the time for remote play in my house, I think it's 100% worth $199.99. If you're not, though, I think it's pricey. For me, I think I'm looking at that going, I don't see this being worth, for how this would impact my life. I don't think this is worth $200. But there again, I do live on my own, so I can't find a use for me to really use this round the house.
Yeah,
because I could just grab my PlayStation, which is just literally behind me.
You've got no one trying to steal the TV from you or hug the PlayStation. Yeah. You've got no reason to be kicked off the tech that you're using. Whereas I'm sure a lot of our audience who have like multiple kids and wider families and stuff, it can be precious. In terms of then to keep this kind of ticking over, the audio tech. So the audio is one thing. Is as someone who works in the tech industry, for me, it does suck. Bluetooth is the standard. It's a very, as you said, an Apple-esque move. But even Apple let you use their earpods on Bluetooth devices. For me, I think it's just early doors. Yes, you've got to use the Pulse earbuds for now. It does have a 3.5 audio jack, because I've seen a lot of people on the internet kick off and say there's no Bluetooth, it's ridiculous. The audio jack is still industry standard. Everyone's got a pair of headphones rocking around, tangled up in a drawer somewhere that they can use.
I would dispute that claim. I think the audio jack is no longer the standard for wireless technology, for portable technology. I think that shift has already happened. Does your phone have an audio jack?
No, but I have an adapter that allows me to use an
Dongles
audio
don't
jack.
count. Dongles don't count.
Oh,
if you have to buy another bit to get your headphones in. So I actually almost feel like the 3.5mm audio jack is probably there to stave off criticism.
Yeah, it probably is, because then at the end of the day, you could just get a crappy £1 pair of headphones and you have access to the audio. Let's remember, this thing does have audio. It plays out loud. A lot of people, myself included, I often don't use earphones. When I'm playing on the Backbone or the Razer Kishi, I generally don't use headphones. I'm just usually sat on the toilet, or I'm in the bed. I'm chilling in bed, or I'm on my own on the couch.
Of this as a portable device, which is, for me, a device like this really comes into its own when you're playing on the move. So if you're going, I don't know, if you're going out for work and you go out for lunch and you sat there having a coffee or something, you pull out your device, you want headphones on for that situation.
But then this isn't what they're doing, because they expect it to be in your house, don't they?
Yeah, and I think I just think that's a weird decision, personally. Like, when you're making a ported device that looks, is clearly portable.
There's a few things that are certainly unfinished. With the audio thing, just to go back to it, I think Sony are going to partner with third parties. So it seems like a shitty move at the moment, because they've only got their own handsets that link in to proprietary tech for the best lossless audio and latency, etc. I guarantee there will be several certified Sony PlayStation things that come out that do work with this device. I know. I just feel like it's just because it's just the announcement. Give it by Christmas, I guarantee there's probably going to be a couple of third-party ones on the market from bigger audio manufacturers.
But the thing is, it's still Sony proprietary tech, so they're still paying a licensing fee to do it. This is where I think I don't like proprietary stuff, full stop. It's not just a Sony thing. It's not just an Apple thing. It's like...
I mean, it shot them in the foot in the past. Remember the Pro Duo cards that they forced you to buy for the Vita? That's partly what killed the Vita, was the requirement for a proprietary Duo card.
I would have absolutely no issue with the PlayStation Elite and the PlayStation Pulse Explore headsets and the PlayStation Link wireless audio technology existing if they went, this is the best way you can experience this. So if you want all the 3D audio effects and stuff, you can. But you can just pick up your current iPod, stick them in and play. Then I have absolutely zero issue.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're missing that one bit. And that's why I think this is an intentional thing. We're intentionally not putting Bluetooth in there to force you into our ecosystem more. And that's what I don't like.
Yeah. And this is part of Sony's kind of bravado in recent years to try and push themselves to being a top-tier brand similar to Apple, where you'll pay the price regardless because you want the PlayStation-branded headphones. You want the PlayStation-branded earbuds. You want that tech, and it's at that price that puts it... maybe out of reach of your general consumer, but for your what used to be probably tech enthusiasts, I'd say there's a lot more people who would in the past been tech enthusiasts. They're now mainstream. Like you and me in the past, like if you looked at us in a silo, we'd be tech enthusiasts. But today I look at a lot of our friends and stuff, and they have multiple consoles. They have multiple devices. They have multiple headsets. Like that's just the stand. They had multiple TVs and subscriptions and ways of mediums of entertainment. So I do think a lot of this all boils down to, and we've not really mentioned it yet, but PlayStation Link is spoke about quite heavily in the blog.
I've mentioned
it a few times. PlayStation Link is their proprietary tech for streaming. So this is essentially their version of Bluetooth. Yeah. We don't know the ins and outs of it. We don't know which frequencies it's using, Wi-Fi, etc., Bluetooth. But they've said PlayStation Link is what connects the PlayStation Portable to the PS5. It's what connects your headphones to the PlayStation Portable, the Pulse, etc. It's wireless audio technology that it seems like they've made in-house. And part of me thinks it's a security thing. Remember in the past, the PSP and the Vita were notoriously ripped apart by hackers and mods. And that's a risk to Sony's security. Remember the PlayStation outage back in the day? Yeah, that cost them a lot of money and brand power.
Loads of companies have security things. I think sometimes companies come up with the proprietary technology, then say it's a security thing when to justify
I mean, it could all just be marketing shit completely. Yeah. But it is that thing where maybe to get the latency down to a level they're happy with, Bluetooth ain't cutting it.
What I think
Wi-Fi ain't cutting it.
What I think they're doing is they're slowly about to make a play for what is currently called PlayStation Link to replace Bluetooth as like the technology standard for wireless audio. Like, you know how like you got in the past, you had like things like Blu-ray versus HD DVD, and Blu-ray went out, and then so therefore every single Blu-ray Sony takes a small cut of the profits. they're making that
Shout
kind
out
of
to
technology
Betamax.
play. I think this is the first move. We've
Yeah,
got this.
quite
We've got
could be.
what is. I think even everyone listening to this, like 50 minutes into the show, would agree the PlayStation Portal is an incredibly niche device, even in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
So this is probably the first experiment with this new tech. And I think long term, you'll probably see this come on Xperia phones, probably branded differently. So it's not PlayStation Link, it'll be something else.
I mean, remember we had, what was it called? PlayStation Link for the games.
Yeah.
It was like the Jackbox games, but PlayStation specific. That was called Link, right? Party Link, PlayStation Link?
Something like that.
Either way, something like that. But yeah, PlayStation Link, I think you're right. It's Sony making a move to making everything proprietary, and it can go one or two ways, I think, with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
As a little side note,
I think they're dipping toe in the water to see if they can, how the reaction is while on a niche thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the next PlayStation, the rumored PlayStation Slim, has this technology built in. That might be why they're building a Slim. And then maybe then they start looking at rolling this out into more Sony devices in general, like for, as I mentioned, Xperia devices, some of the home wireless audio solutions. They can put that in there in the hope that other companies start wanting to adopt this technology if it's best in class. And then maybe you start seeing that replace Bluetooth, because Bluetooth's a standard that's been around for a long time.
It's old, yeah. King Harold Bluetooth himself will be thrilled to know that he's been phased out. But yeah, it's an interesting one because it could go either one or two ways. Like Sony's always been up there at the very, very top with audio technology. Audio and video is like their heritage. That's what they're in. Remember the Walkman, folks? That absolute legendary piece of equipment. It can go one or two ways where, people will want this as part of their brand because they're like, oh, you want that Sony Link technology because it's just best in class. As a side note, they have just said they're about to acquire Audi's, which is a manufacturer of top headphones. To give you an idea of scope, Richie, my little factoid I got for you, on the Audi's website, their top line flagship headphone at the moment, the LCD 5, is $4,500 for a pair of headphones. So you're talking like niche, absolutely niche, but premium audio tech. So if they're buying them to then bring that, I guess, over to PlayStation branding or compile them together in some way, that's clearly their goal, is to keep climbing that ladder to be the most prestigious brand for tech audio that you could possibly ask. But I ain't got $4,500 on me.
So these are probably going to be the kind of ultra premium enthusiast gear. Then they'll just have Sony probably as them decent from like probably middling to good, like entry level professional quality.
But
it makes sense. That purchase does make sense. Well,
it's weird that they announced it the day after they announced their two new headphones and earbuds. Like,
but one's a Sony acquisition, one's a PlayStation thing.
True. And I guess, Richie, as we round out on the PlayStation Portable, cloud gaming.
Portal, not portable.
Portal, damn it. I'll say that so many times. Helix plays games.
The PSP.
The PSP, on the new PSP for 2023 is the cloud gaming element. I do still hold out hope because at its core, the new PSP is an Android device. We saw that from the leak last week, as it's running Android in the background, which means it's behind the scenes, it's very open platform.
Yeah.
I could see when PlayStation finalise whatever the hell they're doing behind the scenes with cloud gaming and PS5 games, because remember, they've been rolling out the beta now, premium members have had some early access to it. I think once they've nailed that and they know what the hell they want to do with the cloud gaming element, I could see this device having a software update that will allow it. Because at the end of the day, you and me both know all it needs is a URL link and a decent internet connection, and it can do it. It's got the screen, it's got the input, it's got the locked-in security, it's on brand, it's first party. They just literally need to open this thing up to have a URL link, and they can stream these games.
It's probably a software update. That's probably all it needs. I've seen.
And imagine the boon. That this device would get.
I've seen some interesting takes from people when they're talking about it doesn't have like PS Plus Cloud, or PS Now as we'll call it until it's branded properly. Saying, does it have the hardware to do it? It's like, if it can do remote play, the hardware you need in a cloud gaming device is it needs to have enough video, basically enough RAM to actually display the image, and enough processing power to actually display basically a 1080p image, which is like literally like YouTube video sort of like standards of like hardware. If it can run a YouTube 1080 video, that's all it really needs. A bit more for overheads to send the signals back and forwards, but not much. And a decent enough Wi-Fi wireless card in there,
which it has,
because it can play remote play.
Yeah, it's got the latest brand new kit.
The same requirement for remote play for cloud gaming. Absolutely. There's no difference.
And to go back to PlayStation Link, that could be the secret sauce, is that if PlayStation have got this new wireless fidelity absolutely nailed, and there's a reason they're going proprietary because it's the best in class, if they can translate that somehow to cloud gaming, this could make the PSP ideally best in class device for cloud gaming, purely down to the latency issues. Yeah. And as we both know, Richie, Stadia could run on age-old pieces of shit technology. I tried Stadia with Borderlands 3 back in the day on like a Toshiba work laptop from 2012, and it ran fine because it had the screen, it had the internet, and it worked. So I do hold out hope that this device, it might have like a rough start, but if they announce like a firmware update where all of a sudden you can stream God of War without your PS5 being on, that could give it like this whole other boon. The price might come down because it's been out for a little while. $150 for a device that can play God of War on the move. Then we start getting into new territories for PlayStation Cloud Gaming. But until then, I think I want this thing for Christmas. You don't want this thing.
I want what this thing could become.
But
not what it is.
I mean, if
Sony wanted to send me one, I absolutely could put it to use. I just can't justify the price for what it is for me. One thing I will do is I predict in 6 months' time there'll be loads of these on eBay, because I think there'll be a lot of people playing it to try it. Perfect good device, but then putting it down and then not really find themselves using it. Then they'll find it on a shelf collecting dust and go, "Oh, we'll sell that, get some money back."
And it will be collecting dust because they haven't announced any cases for it. One of these fancy PSP cases from back in the day. I always worried that it would slip out. That was always my worry.
Yeah.
For my old one. But I guess let us know in the comments below, everyone, if you'll be picking this up, if all the news on this has now got you interested. I will say, I ain't getting the earbuds, I ain't getting the headphones. Yeah. That's not my jazz. I'll quite happily just plug in a pair of shitty headphones for but just sound.
You're not going to be playing it on a commuter train or anything, so.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really the audio guy. Just like I'm not really the fidelity guy. I just want the convenience. Yeah. I'm the convenience guy, so give me that, and that's my Christmas present, please, Santa.
Right. We do need to move on because we're now
we do need to move on
the show, and we've only done two
topics.
Yeah, and the next one.
This is it.
Okay,
talking the PS. That will be talking the PS done.
Yeah. Okay. Next topic. So we've been talking a lot about Sony, so let's talk about Microsoft. Microsoft are going to sell off Activision to Ubisoft.
I mean, caveat, Richie.
Yeah, I'm kind of clickbaiting that a bit, but so Microsoft are selling off the cloud gaming rights to you in the UK only to Ubisoft to help getting this deal through the CMA. This is a twist I didn't see coming.
No, what a boon for Ubisoft! Just they're down there in the doldrums, getting criticism. Skull and Bones still in development. We don't know what Mirage is going to be like yet. And then out of nowhere, Microsoft just throw them a bone. The share price has skyrocketed this past week because, the part of the announcement, which I would want to clarify, is Ubisoft announced their lineup. Part of this deal is that they basically take publishing rights for cloud gaming for all Activision Blizzard content. In line with this deal, they've also confirmed is Ubisoft Plus will be getting Activision Blizzard games. So Call of Duty, in theory, we don't know the full details yet. Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Tony Hawk's, they are coming to Ubisoft Plus.
And that seems like it's not just the UK. There's no mention in UK's and Ubisoft's official post that is a UK only thing.
Yeah, so they've got the publishing deals. I think that's to appease the CMA and allow Microsoft to do what they want because they're no longer in control of it. It's Ubisoft as like a third-party entity, almost like an independent adjudicator coming in and going, I'll decide what's best for Call of Duty games.
Yeah, it's a 15-year deal as well. The CMA's biggest concerns were always around about Xbox and cloud gaming and how much the Activision Blizzard King deal pretty much gives Microsoft a monopoly. I think everyone disputes this because there's no one really challenging that strongly at the moment. But Ubisoft, because by selling the rights for 15 years to Ubisoft, it means like, right, we're not handling the cloud. This deal doesn't affect cloud gaming, no longer affects cloud gaming. I think that's Microsoft's view, because the change into the cloud gaming doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
and
the irony is,
things.
Ubisoft will probably use Microsoft's services
to
run their cloud gaming service.
Yeah. So to be clear, reading from Ubisoft's blog, even their blog post, Richie, starts off with, "Yes, you read that headline right." That's how they start their official blog post.
Because they know
so
it's
even
insane.
they're so crazy. Yeah. Ubisoft today announced the signing of an agreement which will give Ubisoft cloud streaming rights to games like Call of Duty and more, coming into effect upon the completion of the Microsoft acquisition. The agreement includes the complete slate of current Activision Blizzard games, as well as all of their new titles launching in the next 15 years after the closing. The games will land on Ubisoft Plus, whilst also allowing Ubisoft to license them to cloud companies, services, and providers and console makers. So the stock in Ubisoft Plus just went through the roof. On top of the Ubisoft library, you've now got Activision's library, and now Classic still. All things said and done, Richie, Google Stadia.
I know.
If only you'd held on for another fucking year, you idiots. We said it's the long game. We said it from the beginning. You've got the tech, you've got the foundations, you've got games a la carte and via subscription, you've got the network infrastructure of a company like Google, you've got the financial backing, and you give it a 3 pissy-year run. You threw in the towel, you cowards.
You threw in the towel after 1 year, basically.
You threw in your towel before you could make one AAA game, you lazy sods. And then look where we are now, Richie. They could have had Ubisoft Plus, who were the most devout of loyalists to Stadia and Google, and you could have had every game under the Activision Blizzard banner for the next 15 years. Where would your platform be in 15 years if you had Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and the like on top of all
Diablo,
the games you had?
Warcraft,
You would have had Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate isn't Activision.
You'd never get Mafia, though. That's never going to come. No. But yeah, it just goes, what if, Richie? It's one of them what ifs. This is quite, we should say as well, this is quite a boon for Amazon Luna.
Potentially,
on the flip side, because they have Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, I mean,
so
there's a few news stories we might get to on Amazon Luna, but they're not huge ones, unfortunately.
No. But I mean, this could be the biggest. We haven't had any clarification from the Amazon team. However, in theory, this should mean they're getting Call of Duty games.
Yeah, theoretically.
It's up to Ubisoft.
Yeah, it literally that's the point.
It is up to Ubisoft.
This is entirely Ubisoft's decision, and so I can see you getting these games wherever Ubisoft Plus is.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't
Agreed.
Ubisoft do that? They're just going to go, here's a huge catalogue of amazing games.
Yep.
That we've just suddenly got control of. Okay, where can we put them?
Some palms being greased up in head offices all over the globe there, because it's one of those things like this. Like Ubisoft and Microsoft have a great partnership, don't they? Like Ubisoft is it's a long-standing partner with Microsoft. It's one of those interesting deals with Microsoft saying, we'll give control over to a third party that aren't affiliated with Microsoft, but at the same time, to me, this reeks of Saudi investment fund sponsoring their own teams and then giving them over the odds for sponsorship money because they own them. It's like Ubisoft are going to do everything Microsoft want them to do because they're their partner and they're their platform which they release their games on. So Ubisoft are going to do nothing to piss off Microsoft. So even though it's a third-party company, it's in everyone's best interests to get this stuff on cloud gaming.
And let's be fair, if you're thinking this from Microsoft, Ubisoft are a trusted partner. So you feel comfortable signing this deal, but it's also only the cloud gaming rights. It's not the rights to the games. It's just the cloud gaming rights. So it's a weird thing where, you might get these games on Ubisoft Plus in the cloud. I'm not sure if you have Ubisoft Plus, will these all games be there for downloadable or will it be cloud only?
Cloud only.
Cloud only. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, they mentioned the blog a few times. It's specific cloud gaming.
Yeah. So if you get Ubisoft Plus, you could probably play the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 eventually in the cloud via Ubisoft Plus on whatever platform you've got Ubisoft Plus on the cloud in, like Luna, for example.
Yeah.
Or GeForce Now?
I will actually say
in the GeForce Now.
The deal was direct through Microsoft originally. However, now it's been handed over to Ubisoft. I could imagine that just becomes part of that deal.
Yeah.
So Ubisoft in the future will license stuff to Geforce now and Boosteroid and the Utopic and the Utopic? Utopic? Is that the right one? Utomic.
Yeah.
It does actually say in the blog post PC, Xbox consoles, Amazon Luna, and PlayStation. So it is mentioned in the official post. So fingers crossed, because hell, it needs a bit of a boost, as we'll get to when we get later into the show. But yeah, great win for Ubisoft. Boosted everything. Boosted their stock. It sets them up well. Did I sell my Ubisoft shares, Richie? Yes, I did, because they went through the roof. So
the one wrinkle in this is now effectively a new deal that Microsoft is submitting, so it has to go through the whole process effectively again.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
You ain't playing them this year.
No, this is not. It's not soon. And potentially the EU could look back into this as well.
Yeah.
Everyone now could take a relook. I think the look will probably be carefully glanced and going, there's not that much change in the deal. If anything, the deal is now less valuable. It doesn't change anything in competition. It goes through for wherever.
Yeah.
I can't see there being an issue, but the CMA will probably take the time. Hopefully, they'll expedite the situation.
Yeah.
On the grounds of they understand that this is while it is technically a new deal, it's more of a tweak to the original.
Indeed. But however, where Ubisoft giveth, they also taketh away.
So we got news about what would have been the sequel to Immortals Fenyx Rising. Unfortunately, it is being cancelled. They just killed it to focus on more established IP.
Bad choice.
Yeah, bad choice, Chris.
Me. And if you look online, everyone is lamenting this news. Like, if I looked at the comments on some of the posts, the articles, and like myself, I played Immortals Fenyx Rising, preferred the name Gods and Monsters, but we won't go into that. Thoroughly enjoyed it, got the Platinum Trophy, played the DLC, enjoyed 2/3 of the DLC. And then I was excited for a sequel. Like, it was a fun romp in a bright, colourful world with a good comedic tone. It wasn't overly big.
It felt fresh.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's an important thing. It's a new IP. I enjoyed the character of Fenyx, the protagonist, and it was just, a good, solid time. And it's a shame because the rumours coming out was after the cancellation, it was going to be a mix. They were going to basically expand on it, but go a lot more in depth. It was going to be a mix of Elden Ring meets Wind Waker. So reading that, it looks like the project would have had an open world again. And citing from two familiar sources and reading from Axios, it says would have been named a code name Oxygen, began in 2021, and it was going to be a departure from the Greek mythology focus. It was going to look at maybe Hawaiian Polynesian, so think of like Moana, Maui, that kind of like Hawaiian inspired area.
Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed, Polynesia. Other planned changes, according to Axios, were a more realistic graphical style, the removal of the first game's narrator, which is a shame, but if it's a different mythology, it makes sense. Less emphasis on puzzle solving and more on a story being driven by player's choice. Additionally, it was going to be aimed at shaking up the Ubisoft open world formula, trading an overabundance on quest markers in favour of an Elden Ring style setup that would have seen players figure out their own path forward by tracking animals, navigating the stars, or following the wind as they sail between fictional islands like New Zealand, Tahiti, Easter Island, and Hawaii. Sources say players control a heavily customised protagonist with a choice of gender, which would need to impress the Polynesian gods this time round instead of, in the original, it was the Greek gods, granting them elemental and shape-shifting powers, as well as new tattoos, similar to Maui and Moana, if anyone's seen that. The Rock's got his tattoos that represent his kind of history in life, which would impact the direction of choices in the story. It goes on. But
That
Richie,
sounds amazing.
that sounds such a cool concept.
I've been saying for years, the biggest problem, Ubisoft's games, they're typically 7 or 8 out of 10, but never feel like they're pushing higher than that. And it feels because it's so formulaic, and the formulas become stale. Making a Ubisoft-style game, because there's not an Assassin's Creed-esque open-world game, but changing up the formula, taking the views of, like, Wind Waker is not a recent game, so that's a surprise being there. But looking at Elden Ring meets Wind Waker, that's difficult to picture, to be honest, how that would play out. But not having just markers all over the map and just having some actual exploration in there is like, That sounds amazing. It sounds what I want Ubisoft to do.
Yeah, and there's more in the article. It does go on to say that basically the team had assembled a several hour playable demo for internal work as of spring this year, but ultimately Ubisoft opted to pull the plug over concerns, a decision that took the team who were working on it by surprise. So no wonder, because again, Immortals received quite well over on Steam. It's got positive reviews. The average play time on Steam is about 32 hours, so people put a decent chunk of time into this title. And you know what the worst part is, Richie?
What?
They shot themselves in the foot by releasing it at the same time of, I believe it was Watch Dogs, Immortals, and Valhalla. I want to say it was that Christmas where they got in their own way again.
The
game suffered for it, and now we don't.
It should have been like a midsummer game, Immortals: Fenyx Rising. You have your tempo at the end of the year, which was the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You just don't put anything up against that. That was the big Ubisoft title of that year.
Absolutely.
And it still did well. Still was very well acclaimed. And the fact that, to be honest, I've read that they were actually thinking about departing from the name Immortals because of the amount of changes. It didn't feel like a sequel anymore. It felt like it'd become its own thing. Well, that's cool. That shows like the level of innovation and care and attention they're putting into this thing. Where they started off as, we're going to make a sequel to Immortals: Fenyx Rising. Then they realised this is different. Let's let this be its own thing. But then it's been shut down because probably Assassin's Creed Jade or something like that.
It's a shame because again, it was the Odyssey team. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, one of the best in the series. They made Immortals. Everyone seems to have enjoyed it, and yet decisions wherever they are. All I can hope is that maybe Ubisoft see the discourse around this and go, maybe that was the wrong decision, and they have time to maybe course correct and get back on track. However, probably not.
A very pessimistic part of my brain's thinking, could we see a lot of people just leave that studio now on the back of this, where they've been given the scope to like make like almost like a passion project and have a bit more freedom to produce the game they want because they're not using one of the massive IP. Then after Ubisoft execs have got their hands on it, they just went, kill it. That's got to be so disheartening.
Meanwhile, Skull and Bones perseveres, and Beyond Good and Evil 2 apparently perseveres, and a Splinter Cell game we know nothing about, a Prince of Persia remake that doesn't look
They're
great.
not making it. It's a lie.
But yeah, so big shame for me, big loss for Ubisoft, but hell, you know what? They're going to get all the Call of Duties in the near future, so I'm sure they're not too worried or upset about it.
But you know what isn't a big loss, Chris? Armored Core 6, The Fires of Rubicon. I love putting the emphasis on the name. It's doing
a cool
well.
Name.
It's rated really well.
What have we got so far? What's it scoring at?
So GameSpot have given it an 8 out of 10. Armored Core 6 represents a new beginning for the long-running series, which I think actually is needed, because I think Armored Core's been around for a long time. But this is me talking, not GameSpot at this point. It's been around for a long time, but From Software's sudden rise to fame over the last decade has really put them in elevated them as a company. So it's a lot more eyes on Armored Core than there was previously. So having a new beginning, I think, is a smart move. Back to reading from GameSpot, it still retains true to From Software's original vision, but the whole experience has been refined to welcome an audience that cuts its teeth on the studio's most recent work. Its story is a letdown, and there may be some early growing pains due to its lopsided approach, but these shortcomings quickly scurry to the back of your mind once you start weaving your fully customized mech between incoming attacks while unleashing a salvo of rocket fire, sword swipes, and plasma rounds.
Sounds pretty sweet.
So we should say that this isn't a Soulsborne game. They have this is more action focused, more. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's absolutely.
Yeah, well, that
brutal.
was the fear, right? Is that it was Elden Ring and Souls have been so good for them that they're going to emphasize that on this game, and then long-standing fans of the franchise were thinking "Ooh, that's not for me." But it seems like it's been almost like a perfect balance of two of them. Like some of the boss fights I saw this morning took someone 50 attempts to take down one of the big mech bosses, but overall, yeah, it's something that's not really been on my radar, and yet this week listened to a few of the reviews, and then, as you said, GameSpot 8, Destructoid 9 out of 10, Inverse 10 out of 10, IGN 8 out of 10, Eurogamer 10 out of 10. It sounds like FromSoft has just smashed it out of the park once again with a franchise that, let's face it, was pretty much done. Like, the last entry was like nearly 10 years ago. And yet, just like that, like the fires of Rubicon, Richie, it rises from the ashes.
Yeah.
And it's the price point's quite good as well. I saw this on pre-order launch in early access for £55, £54. So it's not marketing itself as like a full-on £70 game, which I think is about right for an old franchise that's making a comeback.
Yeah, I think
you don't want to put people off.
It's clearly they've went back to this as a bit of a passion project, because with things like how the Soulsborne stuff has taken off, they could have just abandoned their roots a bit and just focused on what they're more known for nowadays. So their choice to go back to Armored Core and then then actually be true to vision that they have made an Armored Core game. They haven't made an Armored Core game in the style of a Soulsborne game. We're going, no, we're just going to make the best Armored Core game we have. I think it's 100% vindicated just how good this studio is at the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
I would have dropped the 6.
And just went Armored Core.
Fires of Rubicon. I think that's like, just in terms of a new beginning, like the 6 does put me off a little bit. As much as I read the reviews, the 6 is like, okay.
I think
it's like Final Fantasy. Even though they're not connected really, because it's a new story and a new world.
If you're very casual and you're not reading into it, you see, you're walking through a shop, through Game or GameSpot or whatever, and you see the box Armored Core 6. It's like, oh, I haven't played the other 5. Do I need to play the other 5 to know what's going on?
Yeah.
Where you don't, seemingly. So, but
yeah, no one's starting watching Fast and the Furious at the 6th entry.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't. Just don't watch Fast and Furious. Yeah, don't waste your time.
But yeah, I mean, congrats to FromSoft. It's one of those that it's unfortunate that it's coming out. Like, it's such a good game, evidently, coming out in yet another jam-packed part of the year. Like, this Game of the Year conversation is going to be this could end up 2023 being the best year for video games. Full stop. A new Mario game, a new Zelda game, a new Spider-Man game, a new Star Wars game, Diablo, Baldur's Gate. The list goes on. Yeah, the list goes on.
Final Fantasy is only there. Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, it
Can we,
has
guys,
to be.
like, gaming industry, we've had a few years where it's been a bit barren. Can we spread this current lot out a bit over the next few years? There's too much awesome stuff.
I know we give Sony a stick and say, like, we don't know what's happening after Spider-Man. Like, give us some dates, give us a showcase. They could release nothing next year. Like, not one single game. And I think I'd have enough in my back catalogue to chip away through.
Absolutely.
No problem.
I mean, I might not be playing that much on PlayStation, but with Game Pass and stuff, like, I could easily go an entire of 2024 without purchasing a game.
Yeah. Crazy.
As long as I've got my PlayStation Plus and Game Pass subscription still active.
Yeah.
Good.
What about some DLC then for an older game that we both absolutely adored?
Oh, you mean God of War? God of War Ragnarok DLC expansion deep in development for PS5. Is it allegedly around about 60% complete according to Push Square? An expansion to the uber-popular PlayStation first-party exclusive God of War Ragnarok is allegedly deep in development, according to notorious leaker The Snitch. Good name for a leaker, that.
It is, yeah. The Snitch. Lilo and Snitch.
I'm not sure how I feel about leakers, to be honest, but I think sometimes it's fine.
I hate them.
Yeah, but I wonder if he's a golden snitch.
How many jokes can we make about Snitch?
I don't know. We probably shouldn't, because we've got like an hour and 20 minutes and we've still got loads of stories.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think it's about right. Like, if you look at PlayStation's catalogue, they've notoriously let their first-party studios almost like flex a little bit. Once the world's built, once the engine's up and running, once the mocap and stuff is done, if they feel like they have another story to tell, we end up with terrific games. And I attest to Uncharted Lost Legacy. And started off as DLC, spun out into its own game.
I love the size of that game as well.
Yeah, 8 hours, 10 hours at
Something
a push.
like that,
Fantastic game, one of the best Uncharted games. Gorgeous as well. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Absolutely love Miles Morales. Been playing it at Christmas. Such a good choice for that one as well. I absolutely love Miles Morales. Maybe again another 8-10 hours, I would say, to go around the city and swing around as Miles. And again, it adds more to the depth of the story. And when Miles shows up in Spider-Man 2, we know more about him. I haven't played Forbidden West Burning Shores yet, but I did enjoy the Frozen Wilds, which was the DLC for the first one. Although it didn't get standalone release, that's kind of the only the big difference here. And then The Last of Us, we had Left Behind. That was so good. So evidently, Sony have a track record of taking their biggest IP and making it into that. We had Iki Island on Ghost of Tsushima, which was good, but maybe not like standalone game good, not like as big in scope. But then the Legends DLC, which was free, was awesome. So they've got a solid track record as the first-party studios for putting out additional content. And you know, with God of War, no spoilers, but the way it ended, I think it's primed for like another side story with a few of the characters maybe going off and doing their own thing in that world. Give me a new realm, take me back to an old realm. Give me more God of War.
This is what I was going to ask you about it is, do you think that this DLC means that there won't be a God of War 3 in the Norse realm? Do you think
they've already confirmed that?
Yeah.
Corey Barlog was explicit in saying that he sees this as the Norse saga as a duology, and that's done now.
So he's probably come up with, there's a little bit of loose ends to tie up. So do you think this is going to be epilogue stuff? Instead of like where Left Behind was more of an insert into Last of Us 1?
Yeah.
Do you think this is just going to be like, this is going to be the epilogue and potentially even set up the next big story arc, wherever they go next?
Yeah.
Egypt or somewhere.
No, Polynesia. Richie, I actually think. I was just thinking that. Go to Polynesia.
That'd be weird. Imagine Kratos just chilling on the beach in Hawaii.
Comes across Maui.
Yeah.
Does all that kind of stuff.
It's too hot.
You know what? Why not? God of War in a sunny climate? Like traversing the waves and fighting lava monsters and stuff.
Like in a grass skirt. Just looking absolutely fucking miserable.
Do it. There you go. Santa Monica. You're welcome.
Yeah. All right. Let's go through a few of these next stories quite quick. Baldur's Gate could arrive on the Xbox, finally, by the end of the year, after progressive talks between Larian devs and Phil Spencer, apparently breaking the parity clause between Series X and S.
Yeah, Phil Spencer doing the rounds at Gamescom. He interviewed IGN's Destin Legary, and Destin, to his credit, asked him some straight up, just like honest audience questions. He didn't hold back or give him the PR questions. He just straight up went, what's the deal with the split screen on Forza, which we discussed last week? Why isn't that there? Is that to blame for the Series S? And Phil clarified that it's not the reason why. And then they said about the parity clause, is that why we don't have Baldur's Gate? And Phil kind of retorted and saying, like, actually, it's great that Baldur's Gate's doing well. We sent our team of devs. We are working with them. And then since then, one of the devs from Larian's tweeted out and said, yeah, we'll get on Xbox by the end of the year after really good talk. So I'm guessing the parity clause between the X and S means it's coming without the multiplayer element. But you know what? I don't care.
I think this might be just the death of split screen, to be honest. It's been on its way out for quite a while. For some games, I think it's needed, but I think Baldur's Gate, while it is, the series does have its roots in co-op gameplay, because I have played through all of 1, all of 2, and all of Throne of Baal with my brother, co-op, but we did it on different PCs. Yeah. So I don't think if they're just removing the split screen co-op from this game for Xbox, I don't think that's a problem.
I would agree.
I mean, there might be people out there going, "Oh my god, this is terrible. This is how I want to play it," and I'm sorry. That
I mean, Phil said about.
I'd rather them cut that feature than not have the game.
Yeah, Phil said about regarding the Forza stuff. He said we see the metrics, we see how many people play it. So the reality is surely the Larian team know how many people are playing split screen. The hardest part was the parity clause that Microsoft have instilled on themselves, with the X and the S being the same.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty. So as long as they can breach that clause by their own laws, then have at it. Like, if you're holding back sales of the X arguably because of the S, and we've discussed many times on the show, like that will eventually happen as the S gets older and we pull away. You've seen it with the Nintendo Switch. As we pull away from its launch, the tech gets older. That's how technology works. And you will need to cut the cord at one point. And I know Microsoft won't want to admit that, but they need to.
This might be the first nail in the coffin. I think it's going to be it's years before the S is gone, I think.
Yeah.
But we might look back in, like, say, 3 years' time and go, Baldur's Gate was the beginning of the S's decline. And
But
that
then
once
that's
you break that clause, then other developers are going to break it. Other developers are not going to be wanting to. But yeah, that's it.
You could do it on a needs basis. Again, you don't need to lose the whole game, but just have that little asterisk on the box or on the description that just says, FYI, it doesn't include split screen on this version.
Yeah.
Like, is that any different than having a deluxe version that comes with extra DLC and content? It's just an asterisk that goes less rather than more. And as long as the audience, the consumer, knows that before they buy it, you've got a refund policy. So if they're not happy, then get your money back.
Yeah, this is the thing is they'll be worried about how many S's there are in the wild and how many people are just picking up the box and not reading it. Gran buys the game for the kids for Christmas, and then suddenly, probably not Baldur's Gate in this sense, but something else down the line. Yeah. And then suddenly it doesn't work, all this feature. If it's features missing, then I think that is easier to stomach than the game not being able to be played on the S. But eventually I think we'll get it to the point where devs don't want to develop for the S at all.
Yeah.
Especially if down the line you're starting to talk about maybe a PlayStation 5 Pro. Mm-hmm. Suddenly they're pitching their games higher.
Yeah. And this all comes back to their decision at the beginning to do 2 consoles.
Yeah.
Like, it sold them loads of numbers, but is that beneficial in the long term? We'll have to see if that pays off, just like the Game Pass model.
Is this, in hindsight, the S was maybe pitched at too low in terms of its tech? Maybe it should have been a little bit higher. Maybe they'll bring out a revision of the S so it's closer to the X. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
it's all right because you can put a wrap. On your X.
You can indeed. I'm glad you.
Where's the party clause in that? Why can't I get a wrap for my? I want a Starfield wrap for my S. What are the wraps, Richie?
So the wraps.
It's a wrap.
So Xbox Series X, you get an official console wrap for Starfield, and it looks more than just a cheap vinyl wrap. To be honest, it looks pretty slick.
Pretty slick, yeah. For I guess audio listeners,
it looks cool.
It's like, back in the day when you used to get like a Happy Meal from McDonald's and you'd cut out the cardboard and you'd be able to make a little town or a village or something out of the little cardboard. It's essentially a flat 2D layout of an Xbox Series X case with some fantastic Starfield artwork on it. And there's 2 cameo versions. There's Arctic cameo and there's a purple version, mineral cameo. That basically, they kind of grab themselves and wrap themselves around your big black rectangle you've got sat under your TV unit. And, rather than sell a bespoke console for $400, $500, you just buy a wrap and whack it on and make your console look different. It's kind of their equivalent to the PlayStation faceplates. Retailing at £45, $50. A little bit expensive for a bit of plastic, I guess, but it saves me buying a new console. But we don't get it for the S. So,
reading from Eurogamer, the new wraps consist of a solid core panels laid with a fabric finish that fold around the Series X, providing a customization option. So, again, in the past, I like this kind of stuff because I think it is probably a bit expensive for my taste. I don't think I would buy it. But if you're happy to spend £45-50 to make customize your Xbox, it's better than in previous years where a new PlayStation would come out and it looks like Spider-Man. It's like, oh my god, that's amazing, but I've already got a PlayStation, can't justify it. Mm-hmm. I think it's smart. It is similar to the faceplates. And now they're starting to do this. You might start to see some third-party solutions as well. Yeah. I bet you D-Brand are working on this.
You know what's good as well is because of the shape of the X, it's one of the easiest flat panel layouts to work with because it's just a rectangle.
And the way the cooling works, most of the cooling is all on the top. So you can just wrap it easy, without impacting the cooling. So it's dead easy.
Just like a burrito.
You know what is also easy, Chris? If you want to play Xbox Cloud games without using an Xbox Cloud gaming service, because you can on GeForce Now.
Is it easier?
I don't know. It's probably less easy because there's an extra step.
Say
segue aside.
Transition aside.
Yeah, segue aside. You can play Microsoft Game Pass, PC Game Pass specifically, games on GeForce Now.
Yeah, and this was part of the Activision deal, right? This is the 10-year agreement that they put in place to try and convince the FCA. And now it's here. And if you want to play certain Microsoft games, you can do it in... obviously, far better for fidelity. We all know, we all know.
GeForce Now at the moment is best in class.
Best in class. You just got to pay for it, though, on top of your Game Pass. So, you can play Game Pass games in the cloud. They run adequately. But if you want to take it to that next top tier, It's available now. Sign up to GeForce now. Get in the queue. Log in. Link your accounts.
For cloud gaming, it was always
go.
kind of Stadia, GeForce Now, and Luna kind at the top of the pile. Beneath that, you had Game Pass, and then Sony, and then Nintendo.
Yeah. Great.
Some of the other
news.
ones, like things like Booster or Utomic, I've never actually used myself, so I don't really know where they fit in. But yeah,
good for everyone. Now. Again, good for cloud gaming in general.
Well, that's it. I know there's quite a few people now, Discord server, links below, who very much excited by this, because if you don't have an Xbox but you want to play Game Pass games such as Starfield, the PC version, it's absolute best, but you don't have the hardware to do it, so you don't have an Xbox console or you don't have a decent PC, this is a good solution. It does mean you're paying for an extra subscription fee. You're paying for 2 subscription fees. You're paying for Game Pass and you're paying for GeForce Now. But then effectively, if you think, okay, these 2 subscription fees cover effectively all of your gaming needs at a very high quality, that's fine. Like, if that's
it's more choice, and it's there if you want it. So I think if you've already got GeForce Now, and chances are you probably already have Game Pass because it's such good value, then this is just another door that's opened up to you to play your games in a better way. So happy gaming, everyone.
Yeah, and last few stories. We did mention Luna. So we've got 2 bits of news for Luna. The first bit is you can now play Luna on LG Smart TVs.
Wow.
It's a decent expansion. Yeah.
I own 2 LG Smart TVs. They still have the Stadia app on them because it just sits there now.
You may want to update your firmware.
Yeah. This is one that I don't know if it's available for my version. I think I've got the 2021 version of whatever LG TV it is. So I'm hoping, similar to how Samsung did it, it went out to the current year's model and then they backdated it.
Yeah, I don't know. On the announcement via Amazon Luna's Twitter account, which is all I've seen so far, it's announced that it's coming, but it hasn't. Well, it's announced that it's now available on select LG Smart TVs, but doesn't say which.
Yeah.
So your mileage may vary. So if you've got an LG Smart TV and you like Luna, have a look. But yeah,
as LG would say, life's good.
We have the new games for September as well.
And this is the reason, Richie, why we don't do a standalone show for Luna anymore.
It is indeed.
What game? So Amazon Luna announces the new games for September. What are they?
We have Ultra Kill, Super Galaxy Squadron X Turbo, Infinite Mini Golf. I don't know why I'm putting a voice in there.
Yeah, I don't either.
WCR Generations, Beach Buggy Racing 2, Hot Wheels Edition, Jackbox 9, and Arcade Paradise are your Prime games. Nothing's moving the needle there for me, unfortunately.
Nope. This is the problem. If you're a Prime customer, it's no extra cost, so that's great. I get to play World Rally Championship Generations, Beach Buggy I'm not touching, Jackbox unless I'm having a party, and we played Arcade Paradise on Stadia, so I've been there, done that. It's an older game now. Games are still leaving Luna at a worrying rate, faster rate than they're coming. And just looking at the trailers for this Infinite Mini Golf, Super Galaxy Squadron X Turbo, the name alone makes it sound like a terrible 99 pence mobile game. No disrespect to it, but it probably is.
I mean, it's like a bullet hell, on rails kind of shooter thing, the sort of thing you'd see in arcade back in the 90s.
Actually, now I'm watching the trailer, it looks like a mobile game. No disrespect, but it does. And Ultra Kill looks...
Oh, that's
just bad. Just bad.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was on about the Super Galaxy Squadron. Yeah, it looks bad, and it's a bad look all round. And we are at a point now where the frustrations are starting to set in. Luna's coming up on its year anniversary since worldwide release and rollout.
I'm not frustrated about Luna because I was never in Luna in the same way I was in for Stadia because we got Luna so late in the game in the UK. And by then, it already slowed down. So we did launch Luna Listening, and 2 months in, there was just no news, so we never did an episode 3.
Yeah.
And I've never really found myself gravitating, because there's no games coming that I want to play, and there never really has been since I've got it.
Yeah.
So I've never been invested in the platform in the same way I was in Stadia. I've wanted to be. I bought the Luna controller, and it's just sat behind me on the shelf collecting dust largely. So it's a shame. It's a nice controller. I've used it occasionally for PC gaming.
Completely, and it just goes back to sort of stress again for September. What are you getting as an Amazon Luna player? Like, I'm sure there's one or two people out there who are dedicated. Like, Luna is my platform. I'm all in. You're paying a monthly subscription. Remember, for these things, you don't own the games. You're just paying monthly to get access to pitiful offerings. Let's be frank. And
it's a nice
anyone
addition.
out there,
if you just have Amazon Prime and you want a few games occasionally play, it's a nice addition. But if you're looking at this as your primary gaming platform,
nothing.
So you're putting like Ultra Kill and Super Galaxy Squadron X Turbo against Starfield.
Yeah, and the big thing that gets me, and what was always with Stadia, is let's look at the month ahead from beyond September, October. Richie, we keep joking about October. The wider world: Hellboy, Web of Weird, Detective Pikachu returns, Motorsport, Forza, Assassin's Creed Mirage. I guess is coming to Luna via Ubisoft Plus. Possibly. I don't know if that's been officially I think it has been confirmed. Lords of the Fallen, Sonic Superstars. The Sonic game's already on Luna. No confirmation on Superstars. Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Brothers. Obviously, these are exclusives. They're not coming. City Skylines 2, Alone in the Dark, Ghost Runner, and Alan Wake 2. How many are coming to Luna? 1. If Ubisoft are on track to release it. That's not good enough. It's just not. And like you said, we're both fans of Luna, just like we were fans of Stadia. If Stadia was still around, chances are this year they would have at least got FIFA. Phantom Liberty DLC would be coming out end of this month. So like, I feel like even a dead platform, in retrospect, would be getting more and doing more than Luna would be doing right now. And that is an active platform funded by one of the most expensive rich companies on the planet, is worrying. Games are leaving. That never happened on Stadia except for Football Manager, if I recount.
And that's a weird licensing thing. And that wasn't a Stadia issue. That was an all-platforms issue.
It just takes me back to that meme where it's the cartoon character poking it with a stick, going, do something.
Yeah.
Do something. And it's just like...
Since the UK launch, I've seen no effort.
There's been no game that's came out that I've wanted to play. The new release. There's nothing. Weird. Not one game.
It's weird because they're clearly putting the effort into getting things like on LG TV. So at times it feels like they're playing a long game. But the most important thing is games. Stadia died because of the lack of games, ultimately. That's what killed them. That they weren't getting that adoption rate because the games that people wanted to play weren't coming to the platform, Ubisoft aside.
Mm-hmm.
So after that initial thing, the user base plateaued and then started decaying because people wanted to play the best and greatest games, especially when you're... Cloud gaming is very much an enthusiast element of gaming.
Yeah.
And if the games you want to play aren't on the platform, then you're not going to play on that platform.
Yep. And there's still daft things like their own game, New World, launched in September 2021. Why isn't that on your platform? Luna's been out in access for 2 years now. You've got an in-house game that did really, really well upon launch, not on your platform.
That'd be like Sony making a game and not putting it on the PlayStation.
Yeah. So, to round out, before we go off on like a complete Luna rant, Richie, and round out the show, question for you and the chat, let us know in the comments below. Will the PlayStation Portable be more successful than Amazon Luna?
Yes.
Will more Luna controllers be sold than the PlayStation Portable?
There'll be less. I think there'll be less Luna controllers sold than PlayStation Portable.
30% off the Luna controller at the moment as well, by the way.
But it's 30% off something that no one's got a point. Amazon aren't giving you a reason to buy it.
Well, I made a joke in our Discord server that 30% off is the same process for the Luna library right now. The games are just 30% off, 30% are missing, they're gone. Yeah, but either way, go buy yourself an Atari 2600 Plus. Yeah,
it's come back out. But we're not going to go into detail because we're literally almost coming up to 2 hours. We need to wrap up the show. We do have one more story that I just think it's very important to cover. And that is Charles Martinet, the famed voice of Mario since Mario 64,
Wahoo!
Is hanging up his cap and mustache, Chris.
Good for him.
Good for him. Yeah.
You can't do his job forever.
We should know that he is staying actually on at Nintendo as with Mario as well, as a kind of
Mario.
He's a Mario ambassador, I think his title's going to be.
It's like just a legacy role, isn't it, really? It's like when CEOs retire, they just default to being on the board of directors, but they don't actually do anything other than just like consultancy-based stuff.
Yeah, well, effectively, what he's doing now is getting paid to go to conferences, to be the guy who used to be Mario.
It's one of those things, like he's done it for 30 years, and like, again, absolute legend. Mario doesn't have that many speaking lines either, so really his Monday to Friday...
They've already got millions of voice clips from him. Do they even need any more?
Like, Mario Wonder will feature his talents, just like the upcoming Wario game. What was it called? The new WarioWare? It was announced at the Nintendo, the last Nintendo Direct. But yeah, basically, like you said, sound clips aside, Chris Pratt voiced him in the movie. He did get a cameo in the movie. He's kind of like immortalized now in the movie, which is fantastic to have him in there. But yeah, just enjoy it. Like, absolute legend. But yeah, I don't really think he needs a... he needs to just happily retire.
So who do you think will replace him? Could you see Chris Pratt?
Just his voice. Like, unless the new Mario game's going to have loads of speaking lines, I don't like. All he does is goes wahoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a me. So
it's a me, Mario.
Like, I think our impressions are quite good, to be fair. So
that's how iconic it is, though. Like,
it is.
We spent 20 odd years listening to this guy go woo, woo. Yeah.
But is that Yoshi?
No, that's Mario when he gets hurt.
Is it? But
yeah, but
either way, enjoy your, I guess, /retirement new role, Charles. But yeah,
thank you for all the joy you've brought to people.
Indeed, just like we have on this almost 2 hour long episode of the GamerGuild.
We told you it was chunky. If you're still with us, you're amazing. Have a biscuit, like you deserve.
Hey, they would have just watched X-Pass and talking the PS over 2 days, and now,
and
if they're a guild hero, you got it early.
Yeah,
you got more time to listen to it.
We do usually have an outrow section where we go for this week in gaming history, but I think for time we call it today. It will return next week when we don't have a massive press conference plus all of the gaming news, new hardware, CMA deals going on, a legacy hero of the gaming industry hanging up his cap. There's been so much to talk about this week. So that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all our great content here. You can become a member for as little as 99p. That gives you early access to the show over on the YouTube channel at GamerGuildTV. All the social medias at GamerGuild. It's all in the description below. We have a Discord where you can tell us how much you enjoy. Let me know if you made it this far in our Discord server. Because if you made it this far, you should be in our Discord. Let's be fair. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I'll see you on Friday in Starfield, folks. My name's been Chris.
GG, everyone. Goodbye.
Wahoo!